Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And before we get started in this video, I was just reading the headline of this article. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff says he uses ChatGPT as a therapist. And you know what's funny? I kind of do that too because a lot of people, this is what they do to me. They tell me I'm wrong. So I just use ChatGPT to tell me I'm right. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's what I do. So all right, so back to the topic of the video. So here's the thing, right? I meet a lot of people who try to tell me that I'm some sort of a moron or I don't know what I'm talking about or I'm an idiot or it happens a lot to me and still happens to me these days. If this were 10 years ago, I would have been, like, really offended because, as a young, let's say, man or trying to step out into the world, I'd be like, "Why doesn't anybody support me?" And then now that I'm a little bit older, it's like, "Oh, well, they hate us because they ain't us." Remember that movie from that movie about the Korea in the North? Remember that? With James Franco? Well, they hate us because they ain't us. I wanna say anus, but that's actually not wrong, it's ain't us, okay? That's proper English. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, so what do people tell me that I'm wrong about, essentially, is that they think there's somehow a way to get rich without selling things. And how do you make money? Well, there's really only 2 main ways to make money, okay? Number 1 is you sell stuff, and whatever you sell, you make the money, okay? Or number 2, you hire people to sell stuff for you. That's pretty much it. Even the government and the policemen have to sell stuff, right? Like, ever notice that, read those articles about how policemen have quotas, sales quotas, aka ticket quotas, because they have to make sales too, because they need the money, right? And for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, your average person cannot make the connection that in order for you to become rich, you have to sell stuff. And so sometimes I'm trying to sell stuff to people and they act like I'm insane for wanting to do that. Has that ever happened to you? Like, "Oh my goodness, you're trying to sell me something." I'm like, "Dude, I told you that like an hour ago." And then I'm telling you what I'm selling you, and then you act like over dramatic that someone's trying to sell you something in a no pressure way, right? Because I'm a no pressure type of guy. In fact, I probably need to make a video that I need to FOMO your BUTT or ASS into doing what I need you to do. Because here's what happens to a lot of people, and I actually told someone this last week. I met this person I know in a cafe, Korean person from China, and she's making like 200 to $300,000 a year in like selling Amazon products. But then she can't buy a house. And I said, "Listen, if you learn with me together, if you sent 10 letters a week, you could have bought a house around $100,000 discount by now if you done that. But what did you do? You just sat there and you didn't take action. And so now, yeah, how long has it been? Like 6 months since we've met or 4 months? I don't remember what happened then. Now you're just complaining now that you hate living in an apartment when you could have bought a house, right? And then she later sent me a text message, basically saying, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, "Thank you for FOMOing me," right? So she's gonna buy some educational products for me soon. But my point is this, okay? The reason why most people are poor is because they refuse to sell anything. Or they think they're refusing to sell any. In fact, the only thing that they're willing to sell in a very particular instance is their labor. Believe it or not, a job interview is a sales interview because you are selling your labor, right? That's why they call it a labor market. Okay. Well, but for some reason, when it comes to anything, any other situation besides that, most people can't make the connection. In order for them to make money, they gotta sell stuff. And if a company, let's say you're making $100,000 salary, you work for a company that's somehow selling millions of dollars worth of product or services. Okay. But someone is selling something. In order for you to get that money, in your W-2 job. Because if there's no sale, you can't get paid. And if you're the one making the sale directly, then you're pretty much getting all the commission. Whereas if you're not the one involved in the sales process, you're probably just getting a fraction of that, right? And it doesn't matter if you're $100,000 employee or someone who works at McDonald's. People who are not either executives or selling, they're only getting a fraction of the money, right? That's just how our economy works. Okay, that's just how it works. And so sometimes when people act like I'm insane for telling them that, or they think there's a way to make money without selling anything. And again, every large company has a sales force, no pun intended. Whether it's Costco, computers, they all have sales teams that go out and work the dials and everything and knock on doors. Well, I don't know how much they knock on doors, but I know and I heard this from people who worked at Costco. They actually go door to door business prospecting, right? So you think, oh, like door to door, nobody does that. Like even Costco does that. You know what I mean? Or at least I think they do. Somebody told me that when they worked at Costco. But let's just ask this. Why does it seem like or actually, because I want to use ChatGPT as a therapist, kind of like how this guy does. I always do this. Am I crazy? And this is how you know this is like ChatGPT therapy mode, right? Am I crazy, or does it seem like the average person doesn't understand that in order to get rich, you have to sell stuff? And right, let's go ahead. Enter.
You're not crazy. It's a common observation. Many people underestimate the importance of sales and wealth building. The reality is that almost all paths to significant financial success involve selling something, whether it's a product, a service, or even an idea. This misconception often stems from how wealth is portrayed. People see the end results, luxury, investments, or passive income, but they don't realize that these often originate from active efforts like selling. Even so called passive income sources, such as rental properties or investments, require selling at some point, selling yourself to investors, tenants, or buyers. Why do you think this disconnect exists? Is it something you've noticed in conversations or interactions with others?
Yes, and I think the disconnect exists because of the school system encourages passivity and not active salesmanship. Another reason why I think this exists because salesmen have a bad reputation, so the average person thinks that um well, how should I phrase it? Um you ever like have like people like call you or like act all crazy because you solicit their door or you cold call them, that selling selling is harassment. Okay. Let's do that. So let's do that.
You're absolutely onto something. The school system often emphasizes compliance, memorization, and fitting into a predefined structure rather than fostering entrepreneurial or sales oriented skills. Critical thinking and problem solving are sometimes encouraged, but the idea of actively persuading others or creating value through sales isn't typically part of the curriculum. The negative reputation of salespeople compounds the issue. Many people associate sales with pushy or manipulative tactics, often due to bad experiences or stereotypes, e.g., the used car salesman trope. As a result, they shy away from selling because they fear rejection, judgment, or being seen as a bother. But the truth is, ethical sales is about solving problems and creating mutual benefit. Selling is essentially about building relationships and showing others the value in what you offer. How do you think we could shift perceptions so that selling is seen more positively and as an essential skill for success?
My answer would be get rid of the school system. But let me just add one other thing. Okay. So, what is it that I want to add? Well, basically, I don't know the answer to that, but I find it funny that most people, quote, hate sales, yet don't understand when they go to work, they are selling their labor, and in order for them to get their salary, someone in the company is making a lot more sales and they only get a fraction of it.
Exactly. It's ironic how people hate sales while being an intrinsic part of a sales driven ecosystem. Every job exists because something is being sold, whether it's a product, service, or even an idea. Employees sell their time, skills, and expertise in exchange for a paycheck, but without the company's sales, those paychecks wouldn't exist. This disconnect might stem from the fact that many people don't see the entire value chain. They focus on their role and the immediate compensation rather than understanding how wealth flows through the organization. They may also underestimate the risk and effort that the salespeople or business owners take on to generate the revenue that sustains everything. If more people truly understood this dynamic, they might be more inclined to explore entrepreneurship or at least appreciate the importance of sales skills. Do you ever try to explain this perspective to others? How do they react?
Let me say this. I forget that most people don't understand this, and because when I try to sell things to people, I get the negative reaction that is described, and people act like I'm some sort that of scammer because, scammer because I'm trying to sell things. Let's see what ChatGPT says.
That can be frustrating, but it also highlights how deep the stigma around sales runs. People often conflate selling with dishonesty because of past experiences with pushy or unethical sellers. It's not about you personally, it's more about their preconceived notions. One way to counteract this is to focus on value driven selling. Demonstrate how what you're offering solves a problem or meets a need they care about. Transparency, confidence, and a genuine desire to help can go a long way in breaking down those barriers. Have you found any particular strategies that work for overcoming those reactions, or does it always feel like an uphill battle?
Let me say this. It feels like an uphill battle because I want to explain to them their negative reaction towards sales is why they are poor because they don't understand wealth creation. But I can't do it, explain it because it's an uncomfortable conversation.
That's a tough spot to be in, especially when you see the bigger picture but feel constrained by the discomfort of addressing it. It's hard to challenge someone's mindset without making them defensive, particularly when it touches on sensitive topics like money or personal beliefs. One approach could be to plant seeds of thought rather than going full on confrontational. For example, you could ask questions that encourage self reflection, like, have you ever thought about how every company makes money? Someone's selling something, right? Why do you think some people get rich while others don't? What role does selling play in that? These kinds of questions can gently steer the conversation toward the idea without directly calling out their mindset. Do you think that might make it easier to start the dialogue?
Yeah, I definitely do. And that's kind of the issue, why it's so hard to help people, because people don't understand how wealth creation works. In order to make money, you have to sell something. Like, the number of people that I meet who act like there's some way to get rich without like selling stuff. It's like, are you insane? Like, but that's what happens a lot. And so with the average person, I don't know if you ever heard the Jack Ma quote where it's like, don't work with poor people because it's just an uphill battle. It does feel like that because they literally think, oh my goodness, you trying to sell stuff, like you must be some sort of a scammer. And I'm like, bro, like this is why I like working with rich people because they don't have that kind of mentality. Like, you need to kind of change your mentality about money and sales if you're going to make money. But too many people have the scarcity mentality and sort of weird, bizarre, like mentality of somehow if they do absolutely nothing and not try to sell something, that they're going to make money, which is again the most bizarre thing, but that's really the reality that we live in. Or to make money, you got to sell, market, advertise, make a lot of presentations, right? Over and over again. And a lot of people are like, don't, I don't want to say don't want to do that, but actively opposed to it, as if there's somehow a way to make money in a market economy without selling your good or service. It's the weirdest thing. But here's the thing, at least ChatGPT understands me. I get where you're coming from. And this is how I know I'm going to become a billionaire, even though I hate Salesforce and I don't really agree with a lot of Mark Benioff's views, just because we use ChatGPT as a therapist. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to become a billionaire. Oh, and who knows? I may be, right? I may be. We'll see how it goes. All right. It's Korean Atlanta mentorship. Number one reason why most people are poor, because they don't have the right mindset when it comes to wealth creation and sales. They think sales is actively bad, but in order for you to make money, you either have to sell stuff or hire people to sell stuff, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. All right. Well, that's it for today. It's Korean Lanta Mentorship, everybody, and I will now soon release another video about velocity banking. Okay, I love you all.